The Boy Who Gave, and the Gift That Returned. Chapter 1. The tree behind the school, there was a boy named Eli Carter who lived in the kind of town most people only read about in books. It was nestled between soft, rolling hills and had a single main street that still smelled like cinnamon from the bakery that had been there for 50 years. In Willowmere, the mailman knew everyone by name, the librarian still whispered as if it were 1955, and the wind carried secrets that only the oldest trees could remember. Eli was 12 years old and had a habit of noticing things other people didn't. He saw the way the morning sun touched the edge of the river like a golden thread. He heard how the leaves whispered to one another in the trees behind Willowmere Elementary. And most of all, he felt that there was something different about the world, something just beneath the surface, waiting to be found. One chilly morning in October, with the first true bite of autumn in the air, Eli's teacher announced that recess would be outside, even if it was a little muddy. Eli didn't mind. He loved the old schoolyard, especially the back corner where the grass grew taller and no one played. That's where the big oak tree stood, taller than any building in town, gnarled and wide like a guardian watching over them all. While the other kids kicked soccer balls and shrieked about puddles, Eli wandered back toward the oak. Something about it called to him that day. Its roots twisted out of the ground like fingers frozen mid-reach, and its bark was scarred with lines that looked almost like writing. Eli knelt near one of the thickest roots and traced a shallow groove with his finger. That's when he felt it, a bump beneath the dirt, something hard. He glanced around. The teachers weren't watching. He dug carefully with a stick, then his hands. The soil was cold and damp, but he kept going, brushing away layer after layer until something wooden peeked out. It was a box, about the size of a lunch pail, covered in dirt and moss, with a small rusted latch. Eli's heart beat faster. He pulled it free, wiped off the top, and opened it. Inside was a bundle of old letters, tied with faded blue ribbon. They smelled like cedar and rain. On top was a single card, yellowed with age. In careful handwriting, it read, "To the one who dares to give." Eli's breath caught. He looked around again. No one was near. With trembling hands, he untied the ribbon and unfolded the first letter. "Dear stranger, if you found this, you are already someone special. I buried this box long ago, not knowing who would find it, only hoping someone worthy would. My name is Lydia Whitmore, and I once lived in the house where your school now stands. Inside this box are 5 letters. Each one contains a gift, something real, something powerful. But nothing in life is truly free. To receive each gift, you must give something up. Something small at first, something more later. Only the brave will read on. Only the true will accept the cost. Will you give, dear one? If so, begin with this first offering. Give away something that brings you joy. Leave it beneath this tree tomorrow, and return the next day. You'll know what to do then." With hope, Eli stared at the letter, feeling the air grow still around him. The tree creaked above, its limbs groaning like an old ship at sea. Something that brings you joy, he thought. Like what? His sketchbook? His favorite book series? The red yo-yo his grandfather gave him before he passed? He closed the box and tucked it deep into his backpack. That night, he couldn't sleep. The letter echoed in his mind. Give away something that brings you joy. By morning, Eli had made up his mind. He packed his red yo-yo in a paper bag and took it with him to school. During recess, he went back to the oak, knelt in the same spot, and placed the bag beneath the roots. He whispered, "This brought me joy. I hope it's enough." Then he walked away, heart heavy. The next day, a strange thing happened. When Eli returned to the tree after recess, the bag was gone, but in its place was a smooth stone, warm to the touch, though the air was cold. Carved into it were the words, "You gave. Now you may receive." Beneath the stone was Lydia's second letter. "Dear stranger, you gave joy and joy will return. Your first gift is this. Listen once and never forget. Hold the stone when someone speaks. You'll remember their words exactly forever. Use this gift well. Words have power. Memory is a rare magic. Your next challenge will come soon. Until then, watch, listen, and be kind." With belief, Eli held the stone tightly. Could it really be magic? That evening at dinner, he tested it. He clutched the stone as his mother read from an old recipe card, something her grandmother had written by hand. He listened once. Then later that night, he recited the recipe, word for word, without even trying. He could still feel the warmth of the stone in his palm. It was real. The letters were real. The magic was real. And he had only just begun. End of chapter 1. Approximate 2,400 words in full version. This excerpt is about 1,300 words to give you a preview. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2 now? Bạn đã nói, phần 2 chat đã nói, sơ tai. Here is Chapter 2 of The Boy Who Gave and the Gift That Returned, written for your TouchTale Stories YouTube channel. This chapter continues the magical and emotional tone, weaving mystery and meaning to captivate your American audience. The Boy Who Gave and the Gift That Returned Chapter 2. The girl with the umbrella. In the days that followed, Eli Carter carried the stone in his pocket everywhere he went. He didn't tell anyone about it, not his parents, not his teachers, not even his best friend, Will. Some things felt too big, too sacred to share right away. This was his secret, and it was changing how he saw the world. Every time someone spoke while he held the stone, their words stayed in his mind like songs he couldn't forget. He remembered the exact way his teacher scolded the class for not cleaning up. He remembered his mom's gentle voice saying, "Even the smallest kindness counts." And most importantly, he remembered the sound of his own voice as he asked himself, "Why me? Why now?" But that question didn't have an answer yet. On Thursday, a new letter appeared beneath the tree. He hadn't left anything there. He hadn't even touched the roots that day. But when he passed by the oak on his way to lunch, something inside tugged at him, like an invisible string drawing him back. He found a smaller envelope, tied with black thread. No stamp, no name, just one word on the front, Eli. Heart pounding, he opened it. "Dear stranger, you've begun to see, haven't you? The world holds more than what our eyes can take in. You've tasted the magic of memory. Now it's time for the next gift. But first, you must give again. This time, give away your time, your attention, your comfort. Look for the one who needs you most today. Not the loudest, not the angriest, the loneliest. Find them, listen to them, stay with them. You'll know when the moment comes. And when it does, follow where it leads." Lydia. Eli folded the letter and tucked it into his pocket next to the stone. He felt like his heart was beating in two places at once. In his chest, and somewhere beneath that oak tree, in the roots that twisted through time. Give away your time. That afternoon, during recess, he didn't go to the tree. He watched the schoolyard. He watched the edges of things. That's when he saw her. A girl he didn't recognize sat alone near the fence, her hood up, drawing slow circles in the dirt with a stick. She looked about his age, maybe a year older. Her backpack was old, too big for her frame, and one of the straps was torn and tied in a knot. Eli walked toward her without thinking. "Hey," he said softly. "I'm Eli." The girl looked up. Her eyes were stormy gray like thunderclouds. "You don't have to sit here." "I want to," he said. She blinked once, then looked away. "No one ever sits here." Eli sat anyway. They said nothing for a while. Just the wind moved, brushing their hair, rustling the chain-link fence like a warning. After several long minutes, the girl whispered, "My name's June." "Cool name," Eli said. "Like the month?" She nodded. "But I was born in January. My mom said she just liked the sound of it." Eli smiled. "Sounds warm." June didn't smile back. Instead, she said something that felt like a door opening in the dark. "My dad's in jail," she whispered. Eli didn't move. He didn't flinch or look away. "He used to make me paper cranes," she said, her voice cracking. "Said they brought luck. I don't believe in luck anymore." Eli didn't know what to say, but he held the stone in his pocket and remembered Lydia's words. "Listen. Stay." So he stayed. They sat in silence for a long time after that. But it wasn't a sad silence. It was a silence that felt like something healing slowly. When the bell rang and June got up to leave, she looked back once. "Thanks," she said. "You didn't try to fix anything. You just stayed." That night, something strange happened. Eli woke in the middle of the night with the feeling that someone was calling him. Not with words, but with warmth. He looked toward his window. It was wide open, though he hadn't touched it. On the windowsill sat a folded paper crane, perfectly made, balanced on its delicate wings. He stepped forward, picked it up, and unfolded it. Inside was Lydia's handwriting. "Dear stranger, you gave your time, your silence, your presence. You gave without fixing. You gave without asking for anything in return. Now receive this gift. You will see what others feel. Not all the time, only when it matters. But when someone's heart is heavy, their feelings will appear like colors around them, soft, bright, or broken. Use this gift wisely. Emotions are sacred. They are not puzzles to solve. They are windows to understand. Your next trial will come soon." With quiet pride, Lydia, the next day, everything looked the same, until it didn't. As he walked through the halls at school, he began to see soft glows around certain people. just faint traces. Mr. Darden, the janitor, glowed a weary blue, the color of old sorrow. His teacher, Miss Hanley, pulsed with bright orange whenever she smiled. And June, when he saw her, her aura shimmered violet, like a bruise beneath the surface. Eli didn't say anything, but he sat next to her at lunch and she said, "You again? I figured you might want to make more cranes," he said, pulling out some paper. June smiled, barely, but it was real, and her aura changed. For just a moment, Eli saw it, a spark of golden light at the edges, like hope returning. That night, Eli returned to the tree. He didn't find a letter. Instead, carved into the bark were 3 words he hadn't seen before. Chapter 3. The door that wouldn't open the glow of autumn had grown deeper in Willowmere. Leaves turned to fire on the trees, amber, crimson, and gold, and the sky softened into gray. The air was cool enough for sweaters, warm enough for windows still cracked open at night. But inside Eli Carter's world, something had shifted permanently. He now carried 2 invisible gifts: the memory stone that let him recall every word he heard while holding it, and a new, strange ability to see feelings, colors around people, like auras trailing from their hearts. But more than that, he carried the weight of these gifts. The way his view of the world had sharpened. The way he noticed sadness in quiet corners. And the way Lydia's letters kept arriving, without warning, without explanation, guiding him through what felt less like a game and more like a test. Still, there were no answers, only instructions, and something deep inside him wanted to follow them. He returned to the oak tree that Friday after school. The wind blew stronger than usual, and the sky hung low, pressing in like a secret about to be told. There, pinned to the bark with a single acorn, was the 3rd letter. "Dear stranger, you've learned to give up comfort, joy time. You've accepted power, but not without cost. Now comes your greatest test yet. You must give up what is safe. There is a door in Willowmere, one that hasn't opened in decades. Behind it is a truth no one wants to see. But you must go there. You must knock. And you must ask to understand. Go to the old Whitmore house on Bellflower Lane. Bring nothing but courage. And when the door doesn't open, ask, 'What must I give to enter?' The answer may change everything." Lydia, the Whitmore house. Eli had heard stories about it. Every kid in Willowmere had. The big old house that had sat crumbling on the corner of Bellflower Lane for 50 years. The front porch was rotted. The shutters hung sideways like broken wings. And no one had lived there since, well, no one knew exactly when. It was the kind of place you dared your friends to run up and touch on Halloween. But now he had to knock. That evening, just after sunset, Eli rode his bike out to Bellflower Lane. The houses there were older, quieter. Trees lined the street like soldiers keeping guard, their branches bowing low. And at the very end, just past the last lamppost, stood the Whitmore house, tilted, shadowed, alive with stillness. He parked his bike against a tree and approached the porch slowly. Each step creaked beneath him like it might break. Moss grew up the side of the railing. One shutter clattered softly in the wind. The front door was wide and dark, painted once in navy blue, now faded to bruised gray. He raised his hand, knocked twice. Nothing. Then, remembering Lydia's letter, he asked softly, "What must I give to enter?" The silence that followed was not empty, it was listening. Then a whisper, not from the house, but from behind him. "You shouldn't be here." Eli turned fast. June stood at the edge of the yard, hugging her arms tight. Her aura flickered violet and orange, confused, anxious, afraid. "You followed me?" Eli asked. "You didn't answer your phone. Your mom's been calling. I was worried." Eli lowered his eyes. "I have to do this." "Why?" He didn't have the right words. Not yet. He only knew that this was part of something bigger, something that kept unfolding the more he gave. He turned back to the door, and this time it creaked open. Not all the way, just enough for a sliver of warm light to spill out, as if someone inside had lit a candle. A voice, older than dust, spoke from within. "What will you leave behind to enter the past?" Eli didn't know what that meant, but suddenly he felt the weight of the memory stone in his pocket. If he left it, he might forget the letters. He might forget Lydia's voice. He might forget June's pain, his mother's recipes, his teacher's laughter. All those perfect, preserved moments. He reached into his pocket and held the stone one last time. "I give this," he whispered, "so I can understand," and he placed it on the porch. The door opened fully. The air inside the Whitmore house smelled like cinnamon and ash. The room was dim but soft, filled with dust motes that moved like fireflies. The wallpaper curled at the edges. The floor creaked in greeting. But there was something else, a presence. A woman stood at the far end of the hallway. Not quite a ghost, not quite real. Her eyes were deep and knowing. "You gave," she said. "Not everyone does." "Are you Lydia?" Eli asked. The woman smiled, sad and wide. "Once." She stepped forward and touched his shoulder. "You must see what I saw." And the house changed. In a flash, the hallway blurred and reshaped. Eli now stood in the past. The house was whole again. Candlelight flickered. A child's laughter echoed from upstairs. He saw Lydia as a young woman bending over a sick child, her daughter, holding her hand, whispering stories into her fevered dreams. He saw neighbors avoiding the house, afraid of the illness. He saw Lydia alone, giving, always giving, her time, her strength, her hope. And finally, he saw her bury the letters beneath the great oak tree after her daughter passed, whispering, "Let someone else find what I could not keep." The vision faded. Eli stood alone again, in the old, crumbling house. But now he understood. The gifts hadn't been magic for the sake of wonder. They had been Lydia's way of remembering, of passing on what mattered, of giving others a way to care. Outside, June waited. When Eli stepped onto the porch, he looked different. Not older, but anchored, changed. He didn't have the stone anymore. He wouldn't remember every word, but he remembered what counted. June stepped forward. "What did you see?" "A life," he said, "and a love that didn't stop giving." Back home, Eli found a final letter waiting on his bed. "Dear Eli, you gave joy. You gave time. You gave comfort. And finally, you gave memory. In doing so, you've received not just magic, but meaning." The gifts were never really spells. They were ways to feel deeply, to act gently, to live bravely. The greatest gift is this: you chose to give when no one asked you to. Keep doing that, and you'll change the world in ways no magic ever could. With all my heart, Lydia. Chapter 4. When the wind carries a name after the visit to the Whitmore house, Eli Carter felt like the town of Willowmere had shifted. Like someone had turned the world slightly to the left, just enough for everything to feel almost the same, but not quite. The stone was gone. The vivid memory it had given him, the crisp echo of every word, was now fading from his mind. Faces blurred around the edges. Phrases softened. Yet oddly, Eli didn't feel a sense of loss. What he remembered most clearly now were feelings. The warmth in June's voice when she said thank you, the weight in Lydia's eyes, the hush of the house when it revealed its past. The facts faded, but the meaning stayed. And that somehow felt like the point. On Monday morning, when Eli reached school, he noticed something new. Someone had written in chalk on the sidewalk near the entrance, "Even the smallest kindness counts." It was what his mother had said weeks ago, a sentence he'd memorized using the stone, a sentence he hadn't realized someone else had heard. Underneath it, written in different handwriting, was a response: "Kindness saved me." Eli stopped walking. Around him, students hurried past. Some noticed the message, most didn't. But June, who had arrived behind him, stood still and stared. "That's your mom's phrase, isn't it?" she asked. Eli nodded. "I wonder who wrote the second part," she said. "I don't know," he replied. "But I think it's true." At recess, he didn't go to the oak tree. He didn't expect another letter. Not anymore. But something about the way the wind moved, the way it circled the edges of the yard, made him glance back toward it anyway. That's when he saw it. A small child, maybe 6 years old, sitting cross-legged beneath the tree. Her dress was bright yellow. Her shoes were mismatched. Her hair curled like the branches above. She looked up at Eli and smiled as he approached. "Hi," she said. "I'm Ren." "Hi, Ren. I'm Eli. I'm not really supposed to talk to people," she said casually, as if talking to squirrels. "But you seem okay." Eli sat beside her. "Do you come out here often?" She nodded. "When it's windy. That's when I hear her." "Hear who?" "The lady in the letters," Ren whispered. "Lydia." Eli felt the hairs on his arms rise. "You've heard her. She talks when the tree creaks," Ren said. "She says stories aren't over just because people leave." Eli swallowed. "What else does she say?" "She says I have a gift," Ren replied, looking up at the tree. "But I have to give something first." That night, Eli couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of the question pounding in his chest. Are the letters still moving? Is the magic still choosing? He thought he had reached the end of Lydia's tests. But maybe it wasn't about finishing. Maybe it was about passing it on. The next morning, Eli did something he'd never done before. He brought a notebook to school, plain, unmarked, pages empty. During lunch, he sat beside Ren beneath the oak and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "You said Lydia tells you stories, right?" Ren nodded. Write them down, Eli said. All of them, even if they don't make sense yet. Ren looked hesitant. But I don't know if I'm good at writing. You don't have to be good, he replied. You just have to be willing. Ren opened the notebook and smiled. Okay. Later that week, it rained hard. Thunder rolled across the sky like a warning, and the playground turned to mud. Eli stood at the window during recess, watching the oak tree sway. A teacher passed behind him and said, I always thought they should cut that thing down. It's dangerous. Eli turned. No, he said, firmer than he meant to. It's important. The teacher gave him a puzzled look and moved on. But June came to stand beside him. You really believe that tree matters, don't you? She asked. I think it listens, Eli said. And sometimes it answers. That afternoon, something unexplainable happened. Ren ran up to Eli in the hallway, breathless. Her notebook shook in her hands. She told me something new, she said. Eli knelt beside her. What? She said, the gift isn't one gift. It's a seed. A seed. She said when you plant it in someone and they grow, that's the magic. Eli felt his throat tighten. Ren flipped to a page in the notebook where a sentence stood alone, written in her small, blocky handwriting. Magic is what happens when love survives. That night, Eli walked to the oak tree alone. The wind was calm. The stars blinked above. He knelt at the roots and whispered, I understand now. He thought about Lydia, alone in her grief, choosing to give instead of collapse. He thought about June, carrying her father's absence like a second shadow. He thought about Ren, ready to listen, even when the world told her to be quiet. And he thought about himself, not a hero, not special, but willing. Willing to notice, willing to give, willing to care. As he rose to leave, he found a final object resting gently in the hollow of the tree. A small wooden carving of a bird. Tied around its neck was a tag. It read, The story is yours now. Pass it with kindness. Chapter 5. The gift that stayed. Willowmere had always been a town of small, quiet things. Porch lights left on, old dogs asleep under sun patches, sidewalk chalk drawings that faded after rain. But after everything, the letters, the tests, the house, the tree, Eli Carter could no longer see Willowmere as simply quiet. It was listening, always had been, and now, Eli had become someone who listened back. Summer came early that year. The mornings were warm by 7 a.m., and the clouds rolled through like boats crossing invisible seas. On the last day of school, Eli packed up his backpack and took one final walk around the building. The playground, the cafeteria, the hallway where June used to cry, the oak tree that had changed everything. In his pocket, he still carried the small wooden bird. Sometimes he'd hold it when he was nervous, or when he missed the stone, or when he wanted to remember Lydia's voice. He never heard from her again, but that was okay. She'd already said everything he needed to hear. At lunch, he sat with June and Ren in the shade. Ren now had a full notebook, brimming with scribbled stories, poems, and one-liners she insisted came from Lydia. June had started writing too, mostly songs. Sometimes she played guitar outside the library. One time she sang a lullaby for her mom, and they both cried. Do you ever think it's all still happening? Ren asked, tracing a leaf on the picnic table. What? Eli asked. The giving, she said. The letters. The magic. June looked at Eli. I think it is. Just not always in ways you can see. Eli nodded. I think Lydia planted something, he said. And now we're growing it. Later that afternoon, Eli visited the town library. He found the dusty donation box in the back corner and slipped something inside. A letter. Written by him. Inside it read, Dear stranger, if you're reading this, maybe you've lost something too. Maybe you're looking for answers. Or maybe you're just looking to feel something again. I don't have all the answers. But I've learned this. You don't have to be extraordinary to matter. You don't have to have magic to give something meaningful. You just have to start. So give your time. Give your attention. Give your patience. And when you're ready, give someone else the chance to grow too. Because magic isn't in spells or objects. It's in what survives after love is given away. Yours in quiet hope. Eli. He sealed it with a plain sticker. No name on the outside. Just 3 words in crooked pen. To whoever needs. That evening, as the sun dropped behind the hills and cast long shadows over Willowmere, Eli walked with June to the top of Bell Hill. From there, the whole town looked like a painting. Rooftops dusted in gold, trees breathing in the last of the day, the river glinting like a secret. What do we do now? June asked. Eli shrugged. Keep going. She looked over at him, a faint smile playing on her lips. Keep giving. He nodded. Yeah, even when it's hard. especially then. She turned toward the horizon. What if people don't notice? They will, he said. Maybe not right away, but it'll reach them. A soft wind picked up. The wooden bird in Eli's pocket felt warm. A week later, a girl Eli had never met found the letter in the library box. She was 11. Her mom had just lost her job. She didn't believe in anything magical, but the letter made her pause, and smile, and cry. She copied the quote at the bottom into her journal. Magic is what happens when love survives. She taped it to her wall. A month later, a boy in another town heard a story from his older sister about a kid who gave away everything he was asked to, and got something even better in return. The boy had just been suspended for stealing. That night, instead of taking, he gave his little brother the last granola bar in the cupboard. He didn't tell anyone why, but it felt right. A year later, someone left a carved wooden bird in a hospital waiting room with a note that read, "You are seen. You are not alone." A nurse found it. She kept it in her pocket for the rest of her shift, then passed it on to a patient the next day. 5 years later, the oak tree in Willowmere was declared a protected landmark by the town council. No one quite knew why, except a few kids, and maybe, just maybe, a voice in the wind. 10 years later, a teenager named Wren published her first book. It was called The Gift That Returned. The dedication page simply read, "For the boy who gave, and the woman who whispered." 50 years later, a child sat under an old oak tree, tracing the ridges of a smooth stone in her palm. She didn't know where the stone had come from, only that someone had once given it up so someone else could begin again. She listened to the wind and smiled.